We're looking at chapter 6 next week. We're focusing our attention on organizational strategy, which comes under the function of planning. Obviously, we cannot plan to do great things as a corporation, as an organization, if we don't have a plan for how, an action plan for how we plan to achieve our goal. And that's what our organizational strategy does for us. Our learning outcomes for this chapter include understanding the components of a sustainable competitive advantage, the steps involved in the strategy making process, and then understanding the differences between different types of strategies at different levels, corporate, industry, and the firm level. As we look at the components of sustainable competitive advantage, I'm probably going to do that a lot because it's a lot of syllables. But anyway, sustainable competitive advantage, we see the word resource very clearly here. Resources are essential to an organization, and when we talk about resources, we're referring to the assets, the capability, the processes, employee time, information, and knowledge that an organization has control of. They're in possession of it. Firms use these resources to improve their effectiveness and efficiency. Resources are essential to organizational strategy because they can help companies create and sustain an advantage over their competitors. Organizations can achieve a competitive advantage by using their resources in order to provide greater value to their customers than their competitors can do. If you think about the iPad, it's achieved that partly from its sleek, attractive design, but also partly from the reputation of Apple. The goal of most organizations is to create and then sustain their competitive advantage. That is the goal of their strategy. A competitive advantage becomes a sustainable competitive advantage when other companies can't duplicate the value that they provide to their customers. A competitive advantage is sustained if competitors have tried unsuccessfully to duplicate the advantage and have, for the most moment, stopped. It's the corporate equivalent of your competitors waving their white flag and saying that we give up. 4 conditions must be met if a firm's resources are to be used to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. The resources must be valuable, they must be rare, they must be imperfectly imitable, and non-substitutable. In order to create a sustainable competitive advantage, a company must simply have a strategy. There are 3 steps in the strategy making process, and we're going to look at those in just a second. You can see assess the need for strategic change, conduct a situational analysis, and then choose strategic alternatives. I want to speak to the the need for strategic change, because this is the first step in creating a strategy. You have to determine the need for strategic change. Is it time to change your plan of action? Determining the need for strategic change might seem easy to do, but it's not really. There's a great deal of uncertainty in strategic business environments, as we talked about when we discussed internal and external environments in the past. Because managers are acutely aware of the strategies that made their companies successful, sometimes they continue to rely on those strategies even as the competition is changing. In other words, a lot of times success can lead to something called competitive inertia, which is a reluctance to change strategies or competitive practices that have been successful in the past. And this is something that happened to Sony. Competitive inertia led the way for them to too many high priced products, too many people, and extraordinary costs. And now it hasn't made a profit since 2008. But besides being aware of the dangers of competitive inertia, managers also need to actively look for signs of strategic dissonance. And this is a discrepancy between a company's intended strategy and the strategic actions that a manager takes when implementing that strategy. The last step in the strategy making process includes I skipped over step 2. You also want to conduct a situation analysis. And a situation analysis allows us to view our internal and external environment. Ideally, what it's called a SWOT analysis helps a company to determine how to increase its internal strengths, minimize its internal weaknesses, while also maximizing external opportunities and minimizing external threats. And then finally, the third step is choose strategic alternatives. And typically, you're going to choose between a risk avoidance strategy and a risk seeking strategy based on what you've chosen as your strategic reference points. To formulate effective strategies, companies must be able to answer 3 basic questions. What business are we in? How should we compete in the industry? And who are our competitors? These are simple but very powerful questions, and they're at the heart of corporate, industry, and firm level strategies. Corporate level strategies they are the overall organizational strategy that addresses the question, what business or businesses are we in or should we be in? There are 2 major approaches to corporate level strategy that companies use to decide which businesses they should be in, and those strategies are portfolio and grand strategy. I was looking for grand strategy, but that's coming up on the next slide. With portfolio strategy, this type of approach minimizes risk by diversifying investment among various businesses or product lines. So just like you would diversify your investments, it allows businesses to look for acquisitions with companies that may not be related to their core competency or their current business. With the grand strategy, these strategies help an organization achieve its strategic goals by looking at growth, stability, retrenchment, and recovery. According to Harvard professor, and I had his name here somewhere. Well, I can't remember it right now, but he stated, I want to say it was Michael Porter, that's it. He did some research and he found that there were 5 industry forces that can determine the overall attractiveness and potential for long-term profitability in the industry. So now we're looking at industry level strategies, and those 5 forces are character of the rivalry, threat of new entrants, threat of substitute products or services, the bargaining power of the suppliers as well as the buyers. In analyzing industry forces, the next step in industry level strategy is to protect your company from the negative effects of industry-wide competition, and then to create a sustainable competitive advantage. Again, according to Michael Porter, there are 3 positioning strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. With cost leadership, you're producing a product of acceptable quality at consistently lower cost. With I can't talk today. You're providing a product that is different from competitors' offerings that customers are willing to pay a premium for. And then with focus strategy, that involves using a cost leadership or differentiation to produce a specialized product. Adaptive strategies are another set of industry level strategies. Whereas the aim of positioning strategies is to minimize the effects of industry competition and build a sustainable competitive advantage, the purpose of adaptive strategies is to choose an industry level strategy that is best suited to changes in the organization's external environment. There are 4 kinds of adaptive strategies: defenders, prospectors, and analyzers, and reactors. Firm level strategy addresses the question, how should we compete against a particular firm? You're in direct competition when there's a rivalry between 2 companies that offer similar products and service. They acknowledge each other as rivals and they either act or react to each other's actions. Key factors are market commonality and resource similarity. Firms in direct competition can make 2 basic strategic moves: attack or response. So, I look forward to our discussion in class and really being able to apply strategy to some activities that we will be able to enjoy in class. You know how much I enjoy that. So I will see you on Wednesday. Enjoy your reading, and I look forward to our discussion. Bye.